everyone, I'm Renee and welcome to Tater Town. Today on Tater Town, we're going to talk about how to acidify your chicken's water. In a previous video, I talked about how to keep your chicken's water cleaner for longer, and I use two methods to do that. One is a UVC light, and the other was the addition of organic acids in the water itself. Now, neither one of those is enough to kill 100% of anything. It's kind of like hand sanitizer. If you read the bottle, it says it kills 99.9% of the germs that you come in contact with. Well, nothing's ever 100%, but what we can do is decrease the load of bacteria, algae, and parasites in the water. And one of the ways to do that is with organic acids. Now, you can buy products that are already made specifically for poultry water. But as I said in the video about clean chicken water, you have to buy a lot of it because most of the products are made for or geared toward larger farming operations. And that's totally okay if you need that amount, but for me, it's way too much, so I had to find something different. So what I did is use one of the products I already have on hand, and that is citric acid. I use it for food as well as to neutralize the pH of my water barrel after cleaning it with sodium percarbonate. And citric acid is exactly what you find in citrus fruits like lemons, limes, oranges. Now, it isn't the only organic acid you could use. There's lactic acid, malic acid, acetic acid, and that's a good one too. And some of you probably already treat your water with apple cider vinegar. That's acetic acid. But I've chosen citric acid because I already use it, and you only need a very tiny amount to significantly increase the acidity of the water. And as you'll see, you'll use less of it than apple cider vinegar. And I know some apple cider vinegar is pretty expensive. So what is this acidity that we're talking about, and what exactly is pH? Well, pH is used to determine how acidic or basic or alkaline a solution or liquid is. It ranges from 0 to 14. Acids are on the lower number side of the scale, and bases are on the higher end of the scale. The lower the number, the more acidic. The higher the number, the more basic it is. And anything that's at a pH of 7 is considered neutral. Your acids at 0 would be things like battery acid, and at the 14 side of the scale, you have things like drain cleaner. And right in the middle at 7, you have things like pure water and blood. So why would you want to adjust the pH of your chicken's water and make it more acidic? Well, first of all, there are studies that have shown that chickens actually prefer water that is slightly acidic, so just below 7, not too much below 7. And what acidic water does is it helps to keep the parasite and bad bacteria loads down in their digestive system, while also helping to promote beneficial microflora in their gut. And mostly they prefer the taste of it, which also results in them drinking more and staying hydrated. You can think of it like some of you who put lemon in your water because it makes it taste better. It's basically doing the same thing for the chickens. But the thing is, it can't be too acidic, because if it's too acidic, just like if you were to keep drinking a whole bunch of lemon juice or apple cider vinegar all day long, it will eventually hurt your intestinal tract and your stomach. And we really don't want to do that for the chickens or to the chickens. The other benefit of acidifying their water is that acidic water will help keep the bacteria load and nasty stuff in the water down. Again, slightly acidic water certainly won't kill everything, but that's okay. You really just want to keep your water from getting overrun by potentially harmful bacteria, which multiply in stagnant alkaline water. So now you're probably asking, well, how much acid should I add to my water? Well, like most everything, that depends. It depends on the acid you use. It depends on your water. Do you have well water or do you have city water? Is it filtered, unfiltered? Is it soft? Is it hard? What kind of chemicals and minerals are present in your water? And that all affects the starting pH of your water. And if you already have acidic water, you probably don't want to add anything to it, since that could negatively affect your chickens. In general, chickens can tolerate water anywhere between 4.0 and 8.0 on the pH scale. And according to several studies, it appears that the sweet spot is between 6.0 and 6.8. It's not really, really acidic, but it's just acidic enough to kill some of the bacteria, to be beneficial to your chicken's gut, and to make them drink more of it and stay hydrated. Now, some of you may be asking, well, how do I test the pH of my water at home? And there's two things that you can use to tell you what the pH of your water is. One is a pH test strip. Some of you may have these for testing pool water. I have some at home because I ferment foods like sauerkraut, and it's fairly cheap and easy, but it's not very accurate. You have to compare the paper, and I'll show this later. You have to compare it to this color chart, and sometimes it's a close guessing game. The other way, which is how I do it, is with a digital pH meter. After the initial setup, it's easy, it's quick, and it's clean, and of course, way more accurate. So again, how much acid you should add to your chicken water? Well, I'm going to show you how to test your water and just how much a small amount of acid can drastically change the pH of your water. So what I've got here are 2 bottles, 2-gallon jugs of water from my tap. It's pretty neutral. It's actually slightly alkaline, so we definitely want to bring that down for the chickens, but I just want to show you what the number is. I've got some apple cider vinegar with the mother. I've got some citric acid. This is the pH tester I went with, and it's been working great. And then I've got these really cool measuring spoons that are magnetic, and it's a whole set. So I'll put that in my links too below, just in case you're interested. I like them because it's got more of like a flat scoop on the one side and rounded on the other. So the first thing I'm going to do is take some of this apple cider vinegar, and I'm going to pour a tablespoon into this bowl, so you can see that this is typically what most people add to their chicken water. About 1 tablespoon per gallon is what is recommended on most sites. And now, just to show you, I'm going to pour a little bit of water into each of these from each bottle. And the next thing I'm going to do is, well, I guess the first thing I'll show you is the test strips. So you can see kind of how they can be a little messy and really kind of hard to figure out what the pH is if you're looking at, you have to do it pretty quick. So I'm going to test this water. I'm going to dip this in here, and you have that. And now I've got to figure out, well, which one is it closest to? It looks like it's closest to there, which it reads at 6.0, I think. I have to look at that again, but it could be here. It could be there. Who knows? And then this green stuff also sometimes gets on your hand. Oh, kind of messy. Now I'm going to test the second one. And again, they could be close to any of these 3. But mostly what we're concerned with is that these pretty much look the same. All right, my German Shepherd keeps walking around, so you might hear her walking around. So the next thing I'm going to use is the digital pH meter, and after it's calibrated, all you have to do is turn it on and plop it down in the water, and it's going to tell you that right now this water is about 7.7 on the pH scale, which is slightly basic or alkaline. So 7.0 is neutral. So that's the left container. Now I'm going to do the same. I'm going to rinse it off, even though this is the same amount of water. I'm going to do it in the second one, just so you can see that the pH is the same. You can see again, both containers are 7.7. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the same amount of acid to each of these containers. So I'm going to add 1/8 of a teaspoon, and I'm going to use this end for the apple cider vinegar, and I'm going to use this end for the citric acid, so I'm not mixing. So I'm adding 1/8 of a teaspoon to my left container, and I'm going to add 1/8 of a teaspoon. Again, this is a very, very, very tiny amount to this one. And then I'm going to put the lids on and shake them up. So I'm going to let this sit for a few minutes, and then I'll come back. Okay, so now that these have been sitting here for a little bit, I'm just going to give it another quick shake just to make sure everything is good to go. I am going to, if I can get these lids off, really have a better container. So again, this is the one that has apple cider vinegar in it, and this is the one that has citric acid. So remember, we started with a pH of 7.7 in both containers with just plain water. And I'm not going to do the test strips because they're a little messy and it's hard for me to figure out exactly what the number is. That's why I typically don't use that. So this is the apple cider vinegar. So again, remember, we started at 7.7, and it's dropped us down to, figuring it out, 7.4. So we've only dropped down, well, and it's going to keep going down now. So we've only dropped down about 0.4 on the pH scale. And I'm going to rinse this off in clean water. So we get back to 7.7, and this is just a bottle of clean water I've got. So we can clean the probe. So now I'm going to test the citric acid and see how much it drops it down. Now, if I were to add 1/8 of a teaspoon to a gallon of my chicken's water of citric acid, it has basically dropped it below where I want it to be. It's not that they can't drink this, it's just a little too acidic for them. So that's why I've said, I don't know what your starting pH is. If it's already acidic, even just adding 1/8 of a teaspoon of citric acid will really drop the pH, and it could drop it to dangerous levels if it's less than the 7.7 we started. So you really do have to test your pH before you add it. Now, the last thing I want to do, and I'm going to clean this off, the last thing I want to do is go ahead and add the rest of this apple cider vinegar, because for you at home, you're probably using an entire tablespoon in your gallon. Now, I just did 1/8 of a teaspoon, but obviously that's not what you're doing at home. You're doing a whole tablespoon. So let's see how much a whole tablespoon in a gallon decreases the pH as I struggle with the lid. So I am going to go dump this out in my sink real quick and come back and let this sit for just a minute or two and show you the difference. Okay, so this has been sitting for a little bit, and I'm going to, again, try and not fidget with the lid too much. And so this is with 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar to a whole gallon. And again, I'm just going to make sure this is clean and ready to go before I put it in. Obviously, this is not a lab. This is just, kind of getting a good amount. So this is what 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar does to your chicken's water in 1 gallon. And that's significant. That's even worse than the 1/8 of a teaspoon of citric acid in a gallon. So we've now dropped from 7.7 to 4.7, which is 3 levels on the pH scale, and that's not really, really good for your chickens. And again, it just depends on what your pH is that you start with. Now, as you can see from this very rough experiment I just did, even a small amount of acid can significantly lower the pH of water. which is why it wouldn't be responsible of me to give you an exact amount. I know that sucks, but especially if something bad were to happen to your chickens because the water was either way too acidic or not acidic enough, and you still have problems with bacteria and algae forming. So if you're going to add something or anything to your chicken's water, even apple cider vinegar, you really should know the starting pH of your water and just how much of the acid lowers the pH. Now for me, I will tell you that I add way less than 1/8 of a teaspoon to 1 gallon of water. In fact, it's more like 1/8 to 3 or 4 gallons in my 15-gallon barrel. But I keep testing as I go, and if it's too high, I keep adding more and more water, plain water, to keep it in the 6.0 to 6.8 range. The same for apple cider vinegar. Honestly, this was the first time I'd done this test using ACV, and I was honestly shocked at how much 1 tablespoon in that gallon of water increased the acidity. I'm totally not trying to scare you. I really do believe that acidifying your water is an excellent way to keep water clean and to help your chicken's digestion. I'm going to keep doing it. It really is great. But I wanted to show you that there is a safer, more accurate way to treat your water. But wait, there's more. More of the it's not all puppy dogs and rainbows. I kind of feel like a party pooper right now. I do have to let you know that acids are hard on your hardware. So while it's beneficial to the chickens, you may have to replace any metal, like the water nipples, sooner than later, as it can cause corrosion and breakdown of the material. It's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen over time. Also, sometimes you may need to treat your chickens with medicines, whether it's antibiotics or supplements, whatever it is. And it could be contraindicated to use acidic water while giving them these things. So you have to always be sure to double check before introducing anything new to their water to make sure that if you are acidifying it, it's not going to be a problem. All right, well, I hope that was helpful, and I hope some of you can use this to help acidify your chicken's water. All right, well, if you have any questions or if you have anything to add, please go ahead and do so in the comments. And I will have the product links in the description below. And finally, if you're wondering how to find out how to keep your chicken's water cleaner for longer, be sure to check out this in-video link. And thank you again for joining me here on Tater Town.